Hello, everyone. Welcome to Patriots 3, Life, Liberty, Pursuit of Happiness. And here's your hosts, Tim and John Valle. John, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Just to remind our audience to go ahead and like, share, and follow on Tim Holliday TV. That's TimHolliday TV. There's no spaces. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch TV. I'll be putting this up on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So, John, it's been a while. I mean, we've had a few hits and misses. It's either you're out or I was out, or there's one time we're both out at the same time. It's like, So, the last time I heard anything going on with this Iranian situation is, Trump was, pretty much he posted on one of his platforms, open up the effing straight.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
I will fill us in on a little bit more on what's going on.
Yeah. So, like I told you guys a few podcasts ago, and I've been saying this to everybody, including here in my state, to my guys here in Washington, and to a lot of the leaders around the nation. A lot of this has to do with China, and I'll just get into it and show you how, just like Venezuela. But we had some negotiations going on. Excuse me. Over the weekend, we saw J.D. Vance go to Islamabad, and the PACs were helping out with negotiations, which is really interesting because last week the PACs and the Saudis just signed a mutual defense agreement that if anything happens to either one, they'd come to each other's defense. So it's really interesting when that broke and seeing how Iran was launching missiles at some of their bases, our bases, and Saudi and Riyadh. So it's kind of interesting to see what happened. They're kind of doing like instead of a NATO, they're kind of doing a individual defense pact with the nation, right? Like we just did one today with Indonesia.
Okay.
If anybody saw the news, so we'll come help them. We did one with Cambodia a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So the next round, so as we all know, it all has to do with the nuclear material enrichment, stuff like that. And we couldn't come to an agreement. And I think that Iran, whoever the leaders are, there was a whole list of like 30 people that went from different sectors within the Iranian sphere. And I think that we shocked them because we just said, like, it reminded me of what Trump said, sometimes you just got to walk away from the deal, right? And they'll come back.
Yeah.
And those words kept going through my head when J.D. Vance walked out, because Trump talked about that all through 2016, right? Like, hey, just walk away. If you don't like the deal, walk away. They'll call back.
Yeah.
So there was no agreement. We left. Then Trump said, okay, we're going to do a blockade. And it's really, really, really hurting them. So there is going to be, so it was just announced today that there'll be another round of negotiations led by the PACs in the next couple days. And everything is centered on the nuclear enrichment, of fissile material, all that stuff. So we're either going to go in and get it. There's a couple different things. One is we'll take it all. They said they'll give us a portion of it, or they get to keep some of it, or some of it needs to get refined by the PACs or the Indians or whoever,
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And it's while we're waiting here, the minute J.D. Vance was on a plane back, we're just still piling up assets, Yeah. So, after 5 weeks of U.S. combat operations in Iran, we see the losses. I think you have a graph there. We see the losses in the aircraft that we sustained. And I think you have that up there.
Which one was that one? 1, 2,
number
3.
1.
Okay.
Yeah, the graph number 1. Yeah, so that's kind of everything that we lost, The drone fleet was actually the biggest that we lost, or the heaviest that we lost. It was at 60%. So we actually lost 24 Reaper drones, which is, I got a couple buddies that were Air Force that did stuff with the drones, and they're probably like, pulling their hair out of their heads, thinking, what the heck are we doing, But we lost 24 Reaper drones. I think today we might have lost another one, so it'd be 25.
Oh, wow.
So it's 60% of the drone fleet, or of that fleet, and then you see all the other stuff that we lost.
Yeah.
On social media, there was a picture of a refueling tanker that got just. If you look at the front near the cockpit, it looked like it had holes everywhere, and it was going to England to get repaired. It got hit by anti-aircraft stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, so 24 Reaper drones. Right now we have 18 warships in the Med. Right now, we got the USS George Bush just entered the Med today or yesterday. We have a flurry of minesweepers that are headed to the Med, and we're pulling those from Indo-Pacific. So a lot of those coming from South Korea, Japan, the China area, kind of in that area, the Philippines. So just a lot of minesweepers headed to the Med right now.
Okay.
And in 2 weeks we'll have 2 carrier strike groups in the Arabian Sea. It'll be the Lincoln and the Bush, with also the USS Tripoli. That has a 31st MEU on there. So if you don't know what MEU, it's the Marine Expeditionary Unit. Okay. We'll also have the Gerald Ford is in the East Med, and the 11th MFU on the USS Boxer is on its way. And I mean, these things are no jokes. These Wasp class amphibious ships, they're no jokes. I think you got a video of that, so we can show everybody what they actually look like and why these things are just animals. Like Iran is just, they are just paranoid about these. But if you pull up these MEU ships,
that first video? Is that the first video? Oh, the second one. Okay, give me a moment here. Yeah.
Designated purpose, jet hangars with elevators, landing decks, and even well bays for hovercraft used to transport M1 Abrams tanks and other military vehicles. But the real question is, why do we need a smaller mini aircraft carrier when the US already has massive floating air bases like this nuclear-powered Nimitz-class carrier? The answer is simple. Air power alone cannot capture and hold a country. You still need Marines and ground troops to secure territory and prevent any opposing army from reclaiming occupied land. With more details all in the video ahead. The ship generally has around 10 main decks, each serving distinct operational or living needs. First is the bridge. Just a reminder, this is not technically a deck. Below that comes the flight deck, also called the top deck. Beneath the flight deck is the hangar deck, where aircraft are stored. Moving forward is the vehicle deck, followed by the well deck, also known as the stern. Finally, there are the berthing and living quarters, often called the lower decks. At the peak rests the flight deck, an intense airfield at sea. Here, vertical takeoff jets like the F-35B Lightning prepare for action, nestled alongside a constant flow of helicopters. This deck is alive with precision as pilots launch sorties and recover aircraft amid the choreographed hustle of deck crews. Though aircraft operate here continuously, their homes are below, only touching down to refuel or await their next mission. Directly underneath sprawls the hangar deck, a cavernous garage protecting valuable aircraft from the elements. Helicopters fold their wide rotors like steel flowers closing at dusk, packed side by side with the stealthy jets. 2 massive side elevators are the ship's vertical conveyors, ferrying these flying machines seamlessly between hangar and flight deck to sustain high-tempo operations. Deeper below, the vehicle deck bristles with readiness. 33 amphibious assault vehicles line up like soldiers waiting drill commands alongside M1 Abrams tanks, trucks, artillery pieces, and supply vehicles. Ramps and elevators weave through the space designed for rapid movement. The moment the order drops, engines roar and vehicles roll forward to the launch point. At the stern, the well deck serves as the watery gateway. This cavernous, floatable bay swells as seawater floods in. 3 sleek hovercraft known as LCACs float effortlessly, ready to dash through surf and sand, ferrying tanks, troops, and gear where boats dare not tread. Traditional landing craft share the well, offering versatility in assaults. This open gateway to the beach is where sea-based operations spring to life. Beneath the action decks lie the living quarters, the ship's heart for those called to serve. Nearly 1,900 Marines rest, fueled by air-conditioned comfort, stacked bunks, and separate spaces honoring rank and roll. Beyond sleep, the quarters breathe life with mess halls, gyms for physical fitness, medical bays in case you fall sick, and recreational areas, nurturing morale and readiness through long deployments. The USS Wasp's genius lies in how these decks flow together. Planes ascend and descend with speed. Vehicles shift effortlessly from storage to launch, and Marine forces move seamlessly from sleep to battle.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So now you know why Iran is, you know, I got to tell everybody, you know, if you're still watching Alex Jones or you're still watching that idiot Mike Adams who's calling everybody's MAGA magtards, or Michael Yon, some of these guys, man, these guys, you know, they're all doom and gloom. You know, we're going to lose. Russia's going to kill us. Iran's going to sink our boats. They got hypersonics, which they do, but, you know, we know this. Don't listen to these guys. But this is why Iran's freaking out, because when you have the 11th MEU and you have the 31st, so the Tripoli and the Boxer, this is why they're freaking out about Karg Island. And if you don't know what Karg Island is that little island that does everything, all their with regard to their oil production and stuff like that. And they're afraid that we're going to take over the island, you know, and we can't. Yeah. And that right there with the Boxer and the Tripoli, that just shows you that we can't take that island. It'll be cake, right?
Yeah.
It'll be cake taking it, but you know, the island is, I forget how many miles. I think it's 600 kilometers northwest of the Strait of Hormuz. So it's kind of, I don't know how far away from the coast, but they can launch missiles, but we can take it with no problem. So we got these, you know, we got the Tripoli and the Boxer there. These guys are animals. And then people were asking, well, where's NATO? You know, and that's the thing. Where is NATO? You know, we're seeing Starmer backpedal. We're seeing today, you saw Trump post about Maloney in Italy.
Yeah.
You know, all these people. And the question is, when it comes to a situation like this, why are we there? I mean, anybody that voted for Trump, including me, hey, why are we there? You know, and this just proves that we need to look. We have enough oil production, natural gas production. I'll get into that in a minute. We have enough thing that we don't need to be there, but we're helping out the Saudis, the Pacs, UAE, the Bahrainis, all these guys who actually have said, and I don't know if everybody knows this, they're actually paying for everything. So they're actually encouraging us to keep going on Iran. They will pay for everything.
Oh wow!
So the prince of the Saudi prince came out and says we'll pay for everything. You know, the Qataris, everybody said we'll pay for everything. They want Iran gone. A lot of it has to do with because you know the Sunni versus Shiite, but you know they're very. If you know anything about Shiites, they're a very apocalyptic theocracy. You know, they're all about doom and gloom and doomsday and the end of the world and stuff like that. So if you've ever read up on the Shiite religion, that's what they are, you know.
Wow.
Anyways, so that's why they're afraid of us taking Karg Island, because they know we can do it and we could probably keep it and maintain it. You know, there might be some losses, but that's like the 13 soldiers that have already died, but we can do it. You know, there's no better fighting force than us. But again, this goes to prove that we need to leave NATO. We need to get out of NATO. We don't need to, you know, they're not paying their 5% GDP. They're not there for us. Why are we there?
Right.
Why are we in England? Get rid of our airbase out of England. Why are we in Ramstein?
Didn't Trump back out of NATO his first term?
He tried to. He's trying to, you know, like Ramstein. We don't need to be in Germany anymore. Let's get out of Germany. Let's go. World War II's over. We're done. They, you know, the agreement that we made will be in Japan and Ramstein in Germany at the end of war. We're done. You know, World War II so long ago. Let's get out of there. America first. Screw them. Let them fight their own thing. That's kind of where I'm at. But you know, let's see what happens. Anyways, so we got the Boxers on the way. They'll be there shortly. Yeah. And you know, NATO, they're proving very, very useless. You know, we don't need to be there. Now, Iran did go and arrest 103 people in the Hamadan region, which is where that second pilot was rescued. And if you guys don't know, which is pretty cool, you guys should read up on this. The way we rescued this was the CIA used their assets, which is probably including a lot of these 123 people here in that mountainous region, and they did a psyop, and they made it believe that they already rescued the guy. They're out to this thing, so they were getting the Iranians, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, to go to this area when we were over here. And the way we actually found him was through I believe it was DARPA or Palantir or DARPA had this thing where we could focus on that pilot's heartbeat. I didn't get his name, but his heartbeat, and we found through heartbeats. I'll put the link so you can put it there. But it's a crazy article, and it was called. I
thought I read DARPA.
Yeah, it was called. It was a DARPA. I'm sure it was a DARPA program. But anyway, we found through his heartbeat, and I saw that article here. But anyways, they arrested 123 people, so they're clearing out all the Mossad, all the CIA, who they think is Mossad, who they think is CIA, who they think is obviously not for the Ayatollah, arresting these people, executing them, hanging them, and that's what's going on there. So yeah, so that's going on there. So we're seeing a lot more assets go through there.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And Saudi Arabia, again, is pressuring Trump. So right now we have the blockade going as of yesterday. Saudi Arabia is actually now pressuring Trump to drop the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz because they're afraid that the Houthis could escalate in the Red Sea, which is a lot where the Saudis go. So far it's been good. I think they said today 23 ships made it in and out through the Strait of Hormuz as of 6:18 p.m. Pacific time right now.
Okay.
So they're pressuring they're kind of blockade. Now the blockade that's against Iran is also against China, and this is the China stuff I'm telling you about.
Yeah.
So back a couple podcasts ago, and back to all the different leaders and people that I've been having conference calls and stuff like that, talking about getting ready, comms, the net we do on Friday to avoid China, all this stuff. This also has to do with China, just like I said about Venezuela.
Yeah.
Trump will always put the public face on, right? But there's always 2 or 3 reasons why he's doing what he's doing. So it's not just for the nuclear thing. This is also to counter 100% China. Yeah. And if you look at the map, there you go. If you look at that map, that's a map of the global energy route. First was Venezuela, and now it's Iran. So it's all about isolating Russia and China.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, if people don't know, and I said this before in the last podcast, China gets the majority of their oil from 2 countries, Venezuela and Iran. Right? And now they're not getting either. So you got to look at the economic part of that too. But anyways, that's what we're doing is we're countering Russia and China with this, also Iran. We're also crushing China's economy. We're crushing Iran's economy, right? And so a lot of this has to do with China. So when people hear these things, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, you stop and think, okay, who else is being affected? Who else is doing this? Because, you know, you look at on the right, the influencers like Alex Jones, like Mike Adams, like these guys, Michael Yon or whoever, and they're all going ape crazy, right? But they're not really looking at the tea leaves. They're not looking at what's really going on,
right?
You know, so most of these tankers that are being affected by the blockade were destined for China, right? So Trump's main goal is to simultaneously weaken Tehran and deprive China of cheap oil, which is a driver of China's economy. It's one of the drivers of their economy.
Yeah.
And so people need to understand that. If you understand China's economy, you see that, right?
Yeah.
And because we're doing this, China, per U.S. intelligence, is giving Iran weapon systems, right? And I think you got 2 articles about that you could put up. So we know that China is giving them all kinds of assistance, including, there you go right there, including man-pads, which if nobody knows what a man-pad is a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile. So we're seeing C-130s land in Tehran, and they're dropping off what U.S. intelligence says and other intelligence are man-pads. So there's a back and forth. So we look at us using Ukraine as a proxy to go against Russia. So now you're looking at China using Iran as a proxy to go against us. It's always about the proxy wars, right? We go back to the 80s to the Sandinistas and the in Nicaragua, the Sandinistas and the Contras. It goes all the way back to Reagan and Oliver North, all that stuff. The U.S. has always done this. Other countries have always done this. It's always a proxy war,
Yeah, well, I think it went back a little further before that, even in Carter's era. That is when some of this stuff started. Yeah, I had a wonderful conversation with a high school teacher of mine yesterday, and we were talking about a lot of the history. So, yeah, I think it went back.
Yeah, for sure. Further. You can look at, Hezbollah, the PLO, Islamic Jihad, Hamas. They are all proxies of Iran.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that have, you can look at Al Qaeda, ISIS for other countries. But so they're giving shoulder-fired missiles and other technology. We know from Venezuela, their radars aren't worth shit, right? Because we're able to get in there. And you saw those little memes with their Lego radar set and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, they really don't. It's almost as if they bought them off Temu or something like that. So it's kind of funny.
Return from China.
China is also giving them targeting information.
Yeah,
and I think you have that other graph with the AR. So there's an AI firm providing targeting intel to the IRGC. The company is called Mizar Vision. And what they do is they put open source data and AI to create a real-time picture. And that's how they were able to hit some of our C-130s and some of our a couple helicopters in Kuwait, some planes in Riyadh. I think they hit something in Jordan. I think it was the F-15 Strike Eagle group out there. So China, because we are cutting China off from oil, which leads to their economy, which leads to their 2027 goal of invading Taiwan. This is how they're getting us back. Not to mention, China's got a spy ship that is tracking every one of our ships out there. It's in the Med, tracking movements and stuff like that. So it's a real, it's an interesting game. I'll just say that it's an interesting game.
Yeah.
But back to the economy, as we're crushing China's economy, right? Because they're dependent on this oil.
Yeah.
We're also crushing Iran's economy. And this is having a dual effect. This is why, if you read the names of all the people that went to Islamabad with the PACs to go deal with J.D. Vance, it was really from university professors to the head of their parliament or whatever to nuclear scientists. There's a whole hoo-hoo of everybody there. And, the Iranian central bank came out today and said that if things don't change, the economic fallout will drive up inflation. So they're saying it's going to go up to 180%. That'll leave 2 million unemployed. So for context, the inflation, when they were having all the protests and stuff in January, the inflation rate that sparked the protests in January was at 44.6%.
Wow.
So the blockade is going to have a great, in our opinions, it's going to have a great impact taking down their economy. For them, it's not going to be so great, right? So they're literally on their knees,
Yeah.
And it's going to be pretty interesting, to see what happens.
Yeah, knowing that pharmaceuticals are petroleum based. And there's some export from China. One of them more specific is fentanyl. I'm hoping that those levels drop here in the United States because there's been this interesting triangle from China to Mexico here to the States. Yeah, so hopefully that takes a decline on our nation.
Yeah, with the pharmaceuticals, we'll see what happens because we do get a lot of our medications from China. We also get a lot from India.
True. Yes.
But China does supply a lot of the fentanyl. They are working with the cartels and stuff like that. So there's many different aspects to it. But if we can bring Iran to their knees and China to their knees, we get two things out of it. We get a nation state that doesn't, or at least doesn't as much sponsor terrorism, right?
Yeah.
Because their oil revenues, their hacking schemes, their ransomwares that they do, a lot of that money goes, hacking 100% goes to terrorist groups like Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, a lot of these groups. Their oil, a lot of it goes to too, but not all of it, right? It goes to their country, right? So we'll see what happens with China. You know, if we could crush their economy, then guess what doesn't happen in 2027? They can't invade Taiwan, which means that they won't move on us.
That's good.
And we've been over everything that they have on us with regard to, owning the grid, 80% of the cranes at 80% of the ports in the U.S., the property that they own, just all the different stuff. That doesn't mean there's no danger. Now, I just saw something. We were just talking off air. And let me pull it up. We were just talking about this. There's still a real threat here in the U.S. When it comes to Iran and China.
Oh, yes.
So just because things are nice and calm right now doesn't mean nothing's being planned right now.
Exactly.
So, right now we just found out there's a press release from the Justice Department where another Chinese student, another one, has been caught sneaking dangerous pathogens into the U.S., this time at Indiana University. So now that's on top of everybody that was getting caught at Michigan. There was those 2 students in Michigan, then there was those 2 professors. Now we have Indiana bringing in biological material again. Wow. So China's not going to stop, and for every one that we hear about, there's probably 2 or 3 that we're not hearing about that they're getting away from. So there's a real danger as we're crushing Iran's economy and crushing Iran, as we're crushing China's economy. These guys can still do outbursts or have some kind of reaction here inside CONUS, inside the United States. So it's imperative that everybody's kind of knows what's going on, is on the up and up. It doesn't mean everybody needs to just be like, okay, it's over, we're done. No, it's not. So we'll see what happens to that inflation rate. We're gonna go meet them. The blockade right now. There's also, as I was alluding to before, when Trump does something, it's for 2 or 3 different things. And I saw, me and my wife were talking, and I saw an interesting thing where there's actually an armada, 170 to 171 ships, empty oil tankers, are on their way right now to the U.S., to the Gulf Coast to load oil. There you go. You got that right there.
Yeah. So I saw this on Truth Social. Very cool seeing the wave of empty tankers heading to the U.S. to pick up some desperately needed crude for Hormuz's starved markets. All the tankers on the map below are empty VLCCs, 2 million barrel capacity each, currently heading for the U.S. Gulf Coast.
Yeah, so it's almost as if he had this plan, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have all the energy we need, right? We're drilling more. The only place I believe, and I could be wrong, somebody please correct me, but I believe the only place that we're having an issue drilling is off the coast of California, which I think that the Trump administration is battling with Gavin Newsom right now about that. So I think, but everywhere else we're doing good. There's new leases, new exploration leases. Alaska's going off. We have so much that we're going. So so there's 170, 171 currently headed to the U.S., to the Gulf Coast. That's a 55% above normal level,
Yeah.
And so some of the countries, I have a list here, some of the countries that have ships en route are China, India, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, UK, Netherlands, Spain, France, Italy, and Germany. They're sending their tankers to fill up our oil. So it's almost as if he had a plan, like, okay, let's make some money too while we're at it. So let's take down their economy. Let's take down China's economy. Let's make some money. Let's also get a regime change, a new Ayatollah or whatever, Well, there can't be new Ayatollah, but somebody else besides Ayatollah in there. Apparently he's badly disfigured, And do you have another video?
Oh, yeah. Give me a moment here. There you go.
Yeah, let's put another video.
Working to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
All parties need to remain calm and exercise restraint. China will continue playing a constructive role.
While the strait is closed, some American businesses will suffer.
Certain industries are going to be hit harder, right? Airlines, farmers, what that's going to mean for food. Military, contractors are going to do better.
A domino effect from a squeezed Strait of Hormuz runs right through Europe. And a frustrated president posted today, Europe is desperate for energy, and yet the United Kingdom refuses to open North Sea oil, one of the greatest oil fields in the world. Tragic. No matter what Europe does, gas prices in the U.S. may not peak for weeks.
This is the road to more secure and lower long-term energy supplies, but it does mean higher prices today, probably means higher prices for a few more weeks.
High gas prices tell summer a tough sell. So tomorrow,
wow.
Yeah. You know what? If I were Trump, I wouldn't have even said that about the UK. I would have said, hey, just keep coming over here and filling up. You're making us money. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I would, I mean, it's insane, So oil research firm Kepler estimates the U.S. crude will reach 5.2 million barrels per day. That's up about 1/3, So, and China's panicking right now. I'm seeing right here as we're speaking, Xi Jinping is panicking. They know it's over with Iran. They can't compete. The Ayatollah is disfigured. His face is disfigured. His leg, there's speculation that he might have had one leg amputated. He's still alert. He's giving direction, but he's clearly not in charge. There's a power struggle between the Ayatollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And so they, if you understand the Shiite religion, they run by theocracy, right? And there has to be an Ayatollah. He has to be a descendant of the prophet, And so it has to be, when Ayatollah Khomeini was killed, it had to be his son because he's next in line. Now, ironically, he's gay, right? So nothing wrong with gay guys, but ironically, you're in an oppressive regime. You're the new Ayatollah and you're gay. How funny is that, right? So
doesn't that go against a religion?
I don't know. Let's see if they throw him off a building. You know what I mean?
Right?
Let's see if they throw him off a building. But China's ghost fleet's now going to be screwed. Where else are they going to go? So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But I just, I tell the news cycle is so fast. Like, I remember when we talked off air a couple of days ago, we're like, man, dude, I was going to talk about this, but like 3 hours later, there's something else going on. So every hour it's changing. Yes. And everything that I just talked about tonight will probably be out the window by tomorrow noon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there'll be something different going on. What I would like to do is just kind of, talk to the Patriots out there, talk to everybody out there, and just say, hey, don't let this be a situation where you're not planned, have a family plan, and be ready. You never know what's going to happen. Like I said, and everybody can look it up. Like I just read, right here, that Chinese student in Indiana University carrying biomaterial. I mean, what were they going to do with that biomaterial? And if you remembered 2 podcasts ago, when I said, hey, how would you strike fear into America? Do you remember what I said? If you want to strike real fear in America, how would you strike America?
Well, I mean, one thing I would do is take down the communications, the cell phones.
Okay. But do you remember I was saying small town?
Oh, yeah. We talked about the soft targets.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Soft targets. So everybody thinks, okay, New York's a target, LA, Seattle, Miami, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Chicago. Here we have Indiana. This kind of proves my point. Like, soft targets in the middle of America. If you really want to strike fear into America, you're going to hit small town USA. You're going to go into Missouri. You're going to go into Arkansas. You're going to go into Indiana. You're going to go into Oklahoma. You're going to go into Kansas, Nebraska. You're going to go into these small little towns.
Yeah, you're going to affect rural America.
Rural America, these churches, these schools, movie theaters, whatever, and hit small town America. So, that seeing that they're bringing in biomaterial into Indiana University just proves my point. Like, why are you going to Indiana? Why are you going into Michigan? There's no really big cities there, except for Dearborn, in Michigan. But so everybody, I just, implore everybody just to be on the situational awareness. Look where you're going. keep an eye out. Keep a update on your local news, what's going on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, you're going to have these sleeper cells, possibly these sleeper cells. You're going to have elements of, maybe Hamas, Hezbollah in here. I mean, we just saw a couple days ago, Rubio, and I didn't know this. I was actually pretty shocked. The last 2 days, Rubio has revoked the citizenship, and they're deporting family members of Soleimani, who he killed. He had family members here living in New York. Family members of Ayatollah Khomeini were here. They're deporting them. Family members of Iranian Revolutionary Guard generals are here going to school and stuff like that. I didn't know that. It's just crazy when I pop on the news and I see Rubio giving a press conference saying, "Yeah, they're gone. Well, they're all being deported." Like, why would they be here?
Yeah,
it'd be like Putin's son going to school here, or Xi Jinping's son going to school here.
Right.
Like, that's just totally crazy.
I remember, when I was going to college in 2005, 2006, there's, there was some like hidden documents on how to get non-citizens to attend college. And that was in California.
Yeah. Aren't you glad you left that state like me?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That state's
But
just
I still want to fight for California. It's a beautiful state. It's just, terrible, policies, which drove up prices, drove up crime. That took me away from that area. I feel like I'm in America once again, being out of California.
Yeah. And the Californians, other people are leaving and going to your state now, or what?
Oh yeah, I've seen. Well, there was actually some here before I got here. Some have migrated, early as the 90s, from what I've seen. I mean, I'm in my dad's home state, so get to know a little bit of my family over here, so that's good. Good to.
I know when I first moved to Washington in 2001, when I moved to the west, we call the Seattle area the West Side. When I moved to the West Side, people would open up the door for you. "Hi, how are you doing?" I'm like, "What? Where am I? What the heck?
Yeah.
What's going on?" Being from LA, you're like, "What? Or somebody's smiling, you're like, "What? You got a problem?" Like, "What's going? What?"
Exactly. Yeah.
And then in 2013, when we moved to Eastern Washington, to the Spokane area, people were even nicer, more homely. You're just like, all right, like, what is going on here, man? Like, it's
right.
You're just, it takes some getting used to, but
I think that in California, it's more the cities and some of the immediate rural areas that have that vibe that we're talking about, that unpleasant part of California, and it's that unpleasantness that seems to have, I like to say, vomited all over our country, because every city has this just, I don't know, nastiness to it. It doesn't matter where in the country.
But California has the biggest nastiness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, California has great weather.
Yeah. So I just, as these next couple of days go on, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's going to be Jared Kushner or Rubio, or who they'll be flying back over to Islamabad with the PACs making deals with Iran. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But what I want to emphasize again to everybody is, hey, you never know what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis, right? So, you had a couple weeks ago, you had two incidents where two guys, one was, I think, from Lebanon. One was Lebanese, and his brother was killed in there. He went and did the shooting somewhere. I forgot. Was it Virginia or somewhere? And then somebody else did some kind of terrorist act that was related to the Iran thing. So you never know where you're going to be at. You guys could be sitting with your wives. Look, spring's here, summer's here. You guys could be sitting out, having a good time with some friends, sitting out on a deck at a restaurant, eating outside, and there could be a drive-by shooting. You could be at a movie theater. It could be a suicide vest. You could be, right now, as we're speaking, actually, I was reading as we're speaking, there's car bombs going off in Tehran right now. So a car bomb, that's kind of what they're known for in New York, right? Maybe on Long Island, which reminds me, I got to call Anthony. But, Long Island could be susceptible, Yeah. So why do I say that? I say everybody have a plan, and one of the best plans you can have is a comms plan. So I encourage everybody, like I always do,
There's
make sure
we bring up comms so often. Earlier this year, I believe it was in January, where John had talked about these SIM farms. Chinese produced little SIM cards that are being passed around in the New York area. And so that can instantly take down our cell phone communications. So you have no way of making any phone call. And then we've seen Verizon was down for a day or two. And people panic when that happens. You see all these posts on Facebook. Yeah, you can get out if you're on Wi-Fi, if the Wi-Fi is working. All it takes is like one cable cut for, this latest and greatest fiber optics to just, go down. And I remember a couple of years back, Verizon was down from one of their fiber optics being cut. So it was quite interesting.
So like I said, right. So with regard to the SIM card farm, the one that was found in New York, it was capable of taking down the whole tri-state area. That was 100,000 SIM cards, 300 SIM servers. The Secret Service had found that the week of the UN address. And then 3 days later, we found the one in New Jersey. That was 200,000 SIM card farm. Now, are those the only two in the U.S.? No. And if you think so, I got a bird to sell you. There's more out there. We just haven't found it yet. Just like I told you guys, that biolab that was found in Reedley, California, over there by Travis, there going to be more. And what happened? We found the one in Vegas down the road from that Air Force base, so they have more out there,
Yes. And those are the ones that we know about. So there's probably more.
Right. So it's a combination of ones that we don't know about and stuff that our own government, they don't want to panic the people. They're not going to tell everybody. But just to have a simple comms plan, if you're a husband or a wife and you both work, you need a comms plan. If something happens, who's going to go pick up the kids? Where are we meeting? Where's this? What's the emergency plan? Right. If you're in a group, what's your group's plan? Where are you guys meeting at? Is who's in charge? How does that roll down? Are you guys going on GMRS? You guys going on HF voice? You doing JSA? You guys, what is it you guys are doing? Are you doing DMR? What is it you guys are doing? And for you leaders out there that are watching this, I'm just going to say this. If your group and your guys don't have a comms plan, then you're failing as a leader, man. You need to get everybody on a comms plan. It's real easy, you guys can go if we do a net every Friday. We have a bunch of leaders around the country, many different groups. Every Friday night we do a net, and it consists of JS8, the first portion. Second is HF voice, ham radio. Then everybody breaks down and does their GMRS wherever you're at in your local area. And then we do DMR at 8. And we'll add something else. But we, as far as everybody I know that's in on this, we want to use all the tools in the tool bag. But, even if you're not in a group, if you're just a dad out there, you're just a single mom or whatever, you can go and grab a radio, grab a Baofeng, or grab whatever in any tone, Motorola, whatever radio you feel comfortable with, get it programmed and have a plan for you and your family. If you're a single dad out there, if you're just somebody that lives in a cul-de-sac like me, and there's only 7 houses like in my cul-de-sac, and you want to communicate with your neighbors, hey, there's a way to go, and you can do that. And I implore you to do that, because you got to think about it like this. These two countries, especially Iran, has had this war with us ever since the Beirut bombings, right? Where they killed those 200 and whatever Marines, right? Yeah. So we've been at war with them for these many years. We're about to crush their economy. We killed the Ayatollah. We disfigured his gay son. 150 of their ships are at the bottom of the ocean. We are annihilating this country. Do you really think they're going to sit there and say, okay, white flag, we give in.
Nope.
We're done. We beg for mercy. Do you really think that?
No.
And China had this plan to invade Taiwan, and publicly came to knowledge in 2015 through a speech called the Secret Speech of General Xi Jinping. Do you think that this whole time that they've had this plan, do you think that they're just going to say, Xi Jinping's going to say, okay, we're not going to invade Taiwan 2027. Nope, we're done. Do you really think that? Do you really think that they're going to let us crush their economy by not letting their tankers get their cheap oil from Iran. You don't think they're going to react some way, somehow?
Yeah.
Come on, people. You're smarter than that. Right. You know, you got to be smart about it, and you got to think, you know. That biomaterial bringing into Indiana University, that's a real kind of that's a tell because, or it tells a lot because,
yes,
you know, it's the middle of America, it's the breadbasket of America, it's small town USA, it's soft target-ish, you know, there's nothing really, what's in Indiana, you know what I mean? It's not, and what I mean by that is it's not the Big Apple, it's not New York City, it's not LA, it's not, you know, it's not Miami-Dade, it's not Seattle, you're not the space, you know, you're not in New Orleans at Mardi Gras, you know, there's no big real attraction there, but yet you strike more fear in that. So my question to everybody listening again is, do you really think those two countries are going to lay down and say, okay, we give up? Yep.
No.
Have your way with us. Yep. We'll roll over. Have your way with us. No, they're not. You know, they're not. And one of the things that China is doing, just like Russia, is they're giving Iran targeting info to hit, you know, hit the bases, like the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain hit that base, hit the base in Kuwait, hit the Green Zone in Iraq, hit our troops in Jordan, you know, hit our troops in UAE. They hit I didn't know this, but I was watching, and they hit it was a tower. I think it was like a 40 big office building, 40 feet, or I'm sorry, 40-story tower. And then when they hit it, I learned that that's actually on that level where they hit it. That's actually where our CIA station is there in UAE. And and then I was reading articles. I was listening to a couple of these colonels and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, the Iranians and the UAE have excellent intelligence, so they know where all of our CIA stations are in the Middle East, including Bahrain and UAE and Jordan and Egypt and stuff like that. So, you know, they're gonna give Iran that targeting info, but again, they're not gonna just take it lying down, is what I want to say.
Right.
So I implore everybody to get on comms. You know, you go to amron.com. I think you have that link, right?
Oh, yeah, I'll put it in the chat in just a moment here.
So for those of you guys don't know, we work with JJ. JJ's a great guy. He's the founder of Amron. You know, he did comms in the military. He did it in wartime. He did it in special forces. He's a great teacher. You can learn everything you want on Amron. I know the net that I run, the net that we all run together, the one that's on Friday nights. It's a national net. We have people all over the country. A lot of the guys are Amron guys. You know, everybody helps each other out. But I'm sure Tim will put the link there for Amron.
Yeah,
you can learn everything. You can learn everything. JJ's a great guy. He's full of knowledge. And got any questions?
No, not that I can think of at the moment.
Yeah, I'm as we're speaking, I'm just looking at Twitter and I'm just seeing, I mean, China here, China there, China this. I'm looking at Telegram, China this. They know it's over. They know it's done, you know. Well, and so Twitter, it's just a matter of how they react, you know.
Yeah.
And then once this is done, we'll get back to probably Cuba and then, you know, Ukraine. And the other thing about this also is, like I said, when I started doing these podcasts, we talk about Ukraine and the new axis, right? And the axis was always Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, right? And Iran was supplying 100% of the Shahed drones to Russia, right? But if you looked at all the targets that we bombed in the last couple of weeks, we took out their drone making capabilities, their metal factories, everything related to production of drones. So now, Russia, you haven't seen a lot from Russia because, you know, they don't have that many drones now. So now they're just they have whatever drones they have left, and then they're dependent on their ground forces and all this stuff. So we'll see what happens. I mean, they keep hitting each other. That looks like it might be coming to an end here pretty quick, but we just took apart that whole axis too now. So now you could just say it's North Korea, Russia, and China, right? Because Iran's pretty much done for. And if China's economy tanks, man, that'll be an interesting thing to see, you know, how that plays out. But I think China is more, in my personal opinion, based on everything that I've done about China over the last 9 years, China is a bigger threat than anybody and anything. Constantly we're hearing stuff about China. So I hope that Trump gets to address it and gets back on that. Whether it's covertly like what he's doing right now with the blockade and all that stuff, or just openly rerouting people to the Indo-Pacific. Like I said, let's leave Ramstein. Let's leave England. Let's leave Aviano. Let's leave Italy. And Maloney wants to go and say whatever she said today to back the Pope because Trump told him to mind your own business, go do your stuff, let me worry about foreign policy. And let's pull out of Italy too. We don't need to be there. NATO is not there for us.
Exactly.
NATO, you look at Norway, you look at Denmark with the whole Greenland thing. These guys are just running their mouths. It's like, what do you got to offer?
Yeah.
Russia will literally stomp them with no problem.
Well, I think it was pissing off Russia because NATO is creeping up on Russia's back door, and I think that was part of the start of this Ukrainian war. Part of it, not the entirety, but from some of the things that I've seen, it's been going on since the Clinton era that NATO's been slowly creeping up and just right there on Russia's back door. And
that's like a 2 hour. That's a 2 hour subject with me, but you're pretty much right.
Yes.
NATO was not abiding by what Russia said. They didn't want them on their back door. There was a lot going on there. And Putin has every right to, in my opinion, Putin has every right to be mad about it. And then you had the biolabs. The biolabs that were no biolabs, but then Tulsi Gabbard just actually declassified about all the biolabs in Ukraine that were going on. And it was affecting Russia, and just all the craziness that was going on in Ukraine. Ukraine's just a corrupt country. I don't think there's any more. I don't think there's any more corrupt country than Ukraine. They just they can't find all this money that we gave them. They can't find anything. It's like I don't know. I just think we need to be done with that too. Honestly, I think we just need to America first. Come back here. Let's do our thing, and that's it. Let's do the Monroe Doctrine. Let's just worry about the Western Hemisphere. Everybody else can kiss off,
and let's not forget the Ukraine was once part of Russia, which was formerly known as USSR. So people don't forget that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I got for you today. So the next couple of days is going to be very interesting. We'll see what happens. Israel, I think that Israel needs to be put on a leash. I think that they, I think sometimes they have a tendency to go, off a little bit and break truces and stuff like that. And I think Trump just needs to tell Netanyahu and these guys, hey man, like that's it. Because now what's going on is you're seeing Turkey and Israel starting to go at it, and it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Turkey's part of NATO. Turkey's got the biggest army in Europe, and
well, throughout history, Turkey's always been this major trading point because it's been like the crossroads to many different areas. So Turkey's always been that.
It goes back to biblical times, Constantinople, all the churches in Thessalonica and all the different churches in Asia Minor. That's where they were. So it goes back to biblical times. They've always been a big trading route, partnerships, harbor, stuff like that. But they do have the biggest army in Europe. They don't play around. And if Israel gets in a fight with Turkey, I don't know how we would. I just, in my mind, there's no good, and they're part of NATO. They're the only Muslim country that's part of NATO. So I mean, how do we? Yeah, I mean, that's just like. I think Trump needs to tell both of them, hey, calm down. Let's talk this out. Let's not get too flared up here,
Right.
But we'll find out,
Yeah.
We'll find out.
All right. So I think that's it for this evening, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So don't forget to like, share, and follow on Tim Holliday TV. You can find us on Rumble, Twitter, or not Twitter. Twitter kicked me off. Sorry, folks. So Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch TV, iHeart, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And again, like, share, and follow. Actually, Facebook this evening had limited how many shares I could do, so I can't share from one of my accounts. But I did share as much as possible. But if I could ask you folks to do the same, and be sure to join in this coming Thursday. It's going to be an amazing show, and looking forward to y'all viewing that show and seeing you there. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, ciao for now.